Jagmeet Singh confidently says he's running to become Canada's next Prime Minister. But this former kingmaker who propped up Justin Trudeau's Liberal minority government is at serious risk of seeing his party crushed come Election Day. We are talking about the NDP leader today in this episode of Follow the Lead podcast. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Valerie McLaughlin. Today is Monday, March 31st. We are week 2 in this 5-week federal election campaign, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is in trouble. Not only is Mr. Singh struggling to connect with voters, but he is fighting for his party's survival. Before I explain the position that Mr. Singh and the NDP face, I'll give you a brief background. The NDP, or the New Democratic Party, is a social democratic party that sits on the left of Canadian politics. Founded in 1961, the party has helped usher in social programs. Mr. Singh, who's been leader of the NDP since 2017, has been able to establish dental care benefits for low-income Canadians, some pharmacare rollouts, the temporary doubling of the GST rebate, and a one-time rental supplement for low-income tenants through an agreement he had with the Liberal government. Before Parliament was prorogued in January, the NDP had 24 seats in the House of Commons, 12 of which from British Columbia. I've been somewhat monitoring the polls in recent weeks, mainly watching how the NDP is faring in public opinion. Well, it's not good. 338 Canada is projecting today the NDP could end up with 5 seats nationwide. This means bad news, especially for the BC caucus. The website is projecting that the NDP could only win 1 seat in that province. It's also projecting that it's looking like they may win no seats in Ontario. And Mr. Singh's riding that he's running in, Burnaby Central, is projected to be won by the Liberals. 338 Canada makes projections based on opinion poll results, historical data, and demographics, according to the site's creator and operator, Philippe Fournier. Mr. Fournier stated on the Numbers podcast a couple days before the election writ was dropped that in BC, NDP voters are turning away from that party and transferring their support to the Liberals. Quote, "We are looking at an election that will completely redraw the map and redistribute voters." Unquote. And the NDP may be losing support to the Conservatives. Sachi Curl of the Angus Reid Institute said on a recent episode of TVO's The Agenda that the NDP has gone from a party of the working class to a more progressive urban party. The party may be losing some of its core supporters, union workers, especially those in the trade. Ms. Curl said private sector union members surveyed by the Institute around Labor Day were evenly divided between the Conservatives and the NDP when asked what leader has their best interests at heart. The International Brotherhood of Boilermakers endorsed Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre last week. So how did the NDP go from having political sway in the House of Commons to a party with an uncertain future? Let's go back in time to September 2024, when Mr. Singh terminated the supply and confidence agreement he had with the Trudeau Liberals. That agreement allowed the Liberals to govern without the risk of its minority government toppling on a non-confidence vote. The decision by Mr. Singh to end that agreement came at a time when the Liberals were extremely unpopular. There were murmurs inside of the Trudeau caucus that many were unhappy with Mr. Trudeau's leadership. Outside of the bubble of Parliament Hill, Canadians wanted an election and were eyeing Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre as the next Prime Minister. The Conservatives tried several times to topple the Liberal government, but they were stymied by the NDP even after Mr. Singh ripped up the agreement. Mr. Poilievre accused Mr. Singh of propping up the Liberals to secure his pension. In a mid-September session of question period, The two leaders got into it, exchanging verbal barbs. Heckling is nothing new in Canadian politics, as question period can get quite rowdy, but things got deeply personal. Relations between the two parties boiled over in question period several times, with Mr. Poilievre labeling the NDP leader as sellout Singh and the Maserati Marxist. The Conservative leader slapped that tag onto Mr. Singh after he was seen getting into a Maserati. Weeks before Parliament broke for the winter holidays, the Conservatives put the NDP leader's own words into a non-confidence motion. The Conservatives had hoped it would spur the NDP to vote with them, ousting the Liberals. It did not. Things got so bad between the Conservatives and the NDP that after a late-night vote at the end of November, 4 NDP MPs approached the Conservative side of the House. There's video of the encounter, but it's unclear what led up to the confrontation. It soon ended once the NDP MPs realized they were being videotaped, likely by a Conservative MP. When doing research for this episode, I realized these events happened in a vastly different political time. I find it difficult to even recall these events because so much has happened since last fall. Justin Trudeau was forced to resign, initiating events that led to Mark Carney being sworn in as Prime Minister. The huge lead the Conservatives enjoyed in the polls is now gone. David Coletto of Abacus Data reported November 10th the Conservatives had a 19-point lead over the Liberals. At that time, the NDP were scoring 20%. But according to the CBC poll tracker yesterday, the NDP is now at 9.1%. Perhaps if Mr. Singh had joined with the opposition parties to bring down the Liberals when Mr. Trudeau was its leader, perhaps the political future would be brighter for the NDP. Yesterday, Mr. Singh was in Port Moody, BC, and he was joined with other NDP candidates. When asked by reporters about the party's dismal forecast in BC, Peter Julian had this to say.
I've never had as many volunteers, never had as many sign placements, I've never had as many little donations in the first week of the campaign, in this campaign, compared to every other one.
Mr. Julian has represented the riding of New Minister Burnaby since 2004. If the NDP continues to struggle for the remainder of the election, it's at serious risk of losing party status in the House of Commons. Support for the NDP has been steadily declining since 2015. While the NDP has never formed government, it did form the official opposition in 2011. The NDP made its political breakthrough when then-leader Jack Layton won 103 seats. Widely known as the Orange Wave or the Orange Crush, the NDP dominated in Quebec, winning 59 out of 75 seats. Mr. Layton wouldn't enjoy his political success. He succumbed to cancer months after his party's historical win. In the 2015 election, the NDP bled support, ending up with 44 MPs elected to the House. The party further lost seats in 2019, but has stabilized since 2021. So that's where the NDP stands today. We have 4 weeks left in this election, and that's a lifetime in politics, especially in an environment where Canada is constantly responding to threats from its southern neighbor. So anything can happen. Literally anything can happen. That's it for this episode. Again, thanks to everyone who takes time out of their day to listen to the podcast. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Episodes are now being uploaded to our YouTube channel called Follow the Lead Podcast. So if you're on YouTube, feel free to come by and subscribe, as well as like. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.